I was studying the weather models, how they look back in December, because if you recall, or at least I do, as someone that studies this every day, there was a very warm December here, and we were awaiting the shift to colder weather. And it actually took a lot longer than what we originally anticipated. So when I was looking back into December, second half of December, what I discovered was this omega block pattern where a ridge is over central Canada, a trough in the west, a trough in the northeast, was very similar to how the pattern was in the second half of December into early January. And in fact, the entire cycling of the upper level pattern that we're projecting to see into early February was very similar to what we saw in the tail end of December. But what actually happened is when it looked like the colder pattern would shift, it took about 10 days longer than we thought. So I want to learn from last December and see if the same thing could happen here in February. It looks like at some point between February 5th and February 10th, the ridge will build in the west and a trough will develop over the east. So cold air will be able to funnel back into Canada. Right now it's well above average. So this omega block here we see February 3rd. Let me take it back to December and you can see the similarities. This is December 29th. So this was run on December 23rd, looking ahead a week. And look at this, very similar to what we're projecting for the first week of February. And a mega block, trough in the west, trough in the northeast. And if we look at a few other graphics here, as far as when looking ahead, this was as of December 20th, looking out to January 3rd, if you're following me. And it was showing, remember, we had originally this trough in the central Canada, ridge in central Canada, trough in the east, trough in the west. That's not really an ideal setup for snowfall in the mid-Atlantic. Could bring some cold weather at times, but not what you want to see for snowfall prospects. This was we were optimistic for a shift to cold by around January 3rd because you have ridging over Alaska, which is going to draw the Arctic air back down into Canada and eventually our area. But let me put this forward. This was December 20th. Here on December 24th, now the ridge is shifted farther west. The cold is definitely in Canada. You have the polar vortex here. That looks pretty good too. But a day later, on Christmas Day, this is the present that was given to us. The ridge over Alaska completely vacated Alaska. It's gone. The polar vortex was able to shift over Alaska. When you have troughiness in Alaska, you're bringing Pacific zonal flow and mild air into the United States. So this was run on Christmas Day for January 7th, so way out there. Keep in mind, models generally are most accurate up to about 7-8 days at most. Past that, it's kind of a crapshoot. It becomes low odds this far out. So my point is, while it does look could be colder as we get into February or past the 5th, especially past the 10th, the pattern is so similar to the evolution of the pattern that we experienced already in December. And the cold took a lot longer to get here than we originally anticipated. So my point is, I personally want to wait at least another 5 to 7 days in particular to see what that ridging in Canada is going to do. Will it hold? The EPO ridge, will it hold into February, or we're going to start seeing signs that it's dissipating or shifting or displacing away from Alaska? So I'm going to be patient for another 5 to 7 days, as best as I can, because trust me, I want to take advantage of the last half of February for us to get some snow chances before we get into spring. So that is the detailed update of the similarities that we see from December to the pattern in February and how we need to proceed with caution for snow lovers.